What's up, guys? John and Travis here with another fantastic episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. John, you know the deal. How was that?
Man, I really enjoyed that one. Matt sounds like a great guy. He's pretty funny. If he was here, I'm sure we'd all be sharing beers.
I'm pretty sure we would be hammered drunk by now, to tell you the truth. This was, God, I feel like we're kind of like a broken record when we have someone on. We're like, oh man, this was such a great episode, or oh man, this is one of my favorite. But like, it's hard to say that it's not like one of my favorites. Like, just everything about this episode I thought was great. The guy we have on is Matt Gillette, and he is probably one of the most decorated jiu-jitsu competitors I have ever talked to, or we have ever had the opportunity to talk to. He's won gold, double gold, pretty much at every single belt at a lot of competitions. He said he didn't win his first bronze medal until he was a brown belt. Just competed at Master Worlds, won Master Worlds, and had 2 submissions, one at 7 seconds and one at 10 seconds as a black belt. Like, this guy's insane.
I think he may have gave the most persuasive argument on why you should compete. At least a couple times.
Absolutely. And that was the kind of idea behind why I wanted to get him on, is because he is such a heavy competitor. I was like, man, it would be great to hear. And our next guest is the complete opposite, giving you guys a heads up. But he's such a heavy competitor. I was like, man, I really want to hear what his mentality and his philosophy behind competing and how he handles it with his students. And it is just like a wealth of freaking knowledge.
So would you say you're excited now to compete?
No, not at all. But I do feel like I learned quite a bit today.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was good. So, John, what was our beverage of the day?
It looks like we have a, is that Elysian? I don't even know if I can pronounce this. Skull Rock Nordic Style Pale Ale. It was really good. I liked it.
Yeah, this is delicious. It'll be down in the description below.
I had usual. A couple.
Yeah, I had 2 of them, and I'm slightly intoxicated.
It doesn't take much for Travis.
It does not. For such a fat guy, I do get drunk pretty quick.
That's true.
You didn't tell me what's on it.
Like, it felt like it was about 7%. Let's see, am I right?
No.
I don't know. What is it?
4.9.
What?
That's a heavy 4.9.
I've been on Whole30, so this is only my
let
third beer in a month.
Elysian, that's a heavy 4.9. I think someone's doing some misinformation. Yeah. They should be on Fox News.
It didn't taste like a pine tree. I really enjoyed it.
So, but if you guys want to follow Matt, everything's going to be down in the description below. Also,
if you want to get a patch, one of these nice patches, all we need from you is to send us a patch, and then we'll send you a patch. Send us a patch. We need some patches. Why we got to say this every time?
Every time, man. Someone,
send us
please.
Some patches.
I'm going to let you know. If you send us a patch, I'm blowing you up on the ground.
Yeah, you're gonna be here. The next time we record, you'll see your patch here, not this patch.
I'll be like, look what we got in the mail. So, but yeah, Matt, everything will be down in the description below if you want to follow him. He's always blowing up blue belts and point fighters. It's pretty freaking funny, actually. And then also our YouTube page is doing phenomenal right now, guys. So thank you so much for all the support doing that. Our Instagram is blowing up right now. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, love the comments. Keep them coming, regardless of what they are.
Even bad. Honestly, like the best comment we had was a -1. It was just so funny. I literally laughed out loud from it. I looked a little crazy as I was staring at my phone laughing. But thank you guys so much for all the support, good and bad. You guys are fantastic. So, also 5-star review on iTunes. Follow us, Elbows Tight on YouTube, Elbows Tight Pod everywhere else. And yeah, that's pretty much it. John, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it, man.
You guys have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Elbows Tight Podcast. It's your host, Travis and John. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I am fantastic. I got a good little bit of OT in today, so that was really nice. Didn't really do anything. You know, beauty of working for the government. I mean,
I'm not saying that. I work hard for the government.
Tax dollars going good. No. So today we have a very special guest. We have Matthew Gillette. Can we call you Matt? Is that okay? I don't know if some people
Matt is great.
about
yes,
it.
please. Matt is good.
Okay, perfect. So we have Matt Gillette. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing great. Thank you, guys. How are you guys?
We are fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Been looking really forward to this. I know you're a super busy man, especially with your family and competing and everything like that. So we are very gracious with your time. So thank you very much for coming on the show. So, but let's go ahead and just get straight into the interview. Matt, what is your beverage of the day?
H2O, water.
H2O, baby.
Yeah. Kind of boring, but hey, keeps me hydrated. So.
Is that straight from Starbucks? Because they have for some reason they have unicorn water sometimes.
They do. It's special water. It's a special water. According to what I've heard, fish don't fuck in their water, so it's really nice to drink. And my wife got it. It's actually my wife's water, so I took it from her because I'm like, well, I need something in case I get parched. So that really wasn't my beverage of the day. That was just the beverage at the moment that I was able to pick up. So.
Perfect.
But that is the beverage I'm currently drinking, so yes.
It's very smart, very smart. Got to stay hydrated. One time we had water also. What was it? Coors Light?
That's it.
Yeah, that was the water we had.
This
probably tastes better too.
Yeah.
It's from a free state, so it probably tastes even better.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like you have a glow about you because you have so much freedom around you being in Arizona.
It's tough, it's a responsibility, I try not to showboat it too much,
We'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So, hey, well, Matt, let's go ahead and jump into who you are and how you got into jiu-jitsu and a little bit of background.
For sure. So my name is Matt Gillette. I'm originally from California. I grew up in Bellflower, California. Came from my mom, raised by my dad and mom. And then ended up getting married around 21, moved out to Arizona because the housing market was much cheaper, much more affordable, and it was a safer area. I grew up in right next to Paramount, 10 minutes from Compton, so terrible area. There'd be gunfire on the streets, drug deals, all that sort of thing. So it's all right, we want to raise a family. Probably not the best idea to walk down, a street with your little girl or little boy and, get shot at for no reason. So we left there and we've been out here almost, I think, 15 years. Yeah, 15 years in Arizona now. So that's kind of where I'm from, who I am.
So how'd you get into jiu-jitsu? Did you start jiu-jitsu back in California or when you moved to Arizona?
No, so I didn't do any sort of martial arts training at all until I got to Arizona. A buddy of mine went to the Marine Corps, and they do MCMAP, which is Marine Corps Mixed Martial Arts Program, as you guys probably know. And he came back from School of Infantry, and he's like, hey, let's grapple. And at that time, I thought I was the epitome of what a tough male was, I'm like, well, I can bench 350 and you weigh 140 pounds, I'm going to kill you. What's wrong with you? And I my only frame of reference for tough people was Rambo and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like, I'm big and you're small. I'm going to fuck you up. And then, after about 5 minutes and him tapping me out 15 times, I'm like, all right, if this guy who weighs 145 pounds can do this to me, what can somebody my own size do to me? I have to learn this. And so not only that, it just intrigued me, the fact that he can do it so effortlessly. And he only had such a small amount of training at that point. And I was like, holy crap, this is something I really want to get into. And then I went and signed up and I was hooked and been doing the drug of jiu-jitsu ever since.
Do you still talk to your friend? Does he still do it?
Yeah, no, he doesn't do it anymore. So it's kind of funny. He ended up... got sent overseas a couple different times. Did a little bit of training in Korea. He had one of his, I think it was one of his staff sergeants was one of the MCMAP instructors. So they were training together a lot when they were on tour and stuff like that, when they were in Afghanistan or when they were in Korea, things like that. So, but he had a baby, got home, and he has 2 kids now and kind of just fell out of it a little bit and never really competed or anything like that. So thankful that he was able to do it because that's what really brought me into doing it, but he doesn't do it anymore. I need to actually hit him up and try to get him back in.
Well, it's cool. He passed the bug on to you.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
That's nice.
Exactly. He infected me, so at least that was good.
Infected. That's a good.
It's an addiction, man. Hey, there's healthy addictions.
It is.
There's healthy addictions, but, jiu-jitsu is my drug of choice, so.
Yeah, we always talk about it it's you get bit by the bug, literally. You know what I mean? You get that jiu-jitsu itch from it. You live, breathe, and sleep it to jiu-jitsu, especially when you first start out. You start realizing the power of jiu-jitsu. Like you just said, your friend being 140 pounds and whooping the shit out of you, and you're like, dude, this is insane, and you get so intrigued by it, and you're just like, I need this. Like,
I have to get my manhood back. That guy took it. Like, there's no way. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the same thing, right? It's like when I wrestled a little bit in high school, and I was in like peak physical condition when I first started jiu-jitsu, and it meant absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it was like I was like, I'm 170 pounds. Like, I work out like extensively. You know what I mean? I'm super strong, and like a guy with one stripe on his white belt was like whooping my tail, and I was like, I'm gonna beat your ass one day. You just
right, yeah. I'll run you over with my car in the parking lot afterwards because I can't beat you up on the mat.
Yeah, right. So when you first started with your buddy, was it in a school, or did you guys just kind of like do it in your garage or something like that?
Park. I got my ass kicked in front of some kids playing sandbox, and so yeah, that was it. Then right after that, I'm like, all right, I got to find a place, and went and signed up, and been with my instructor ever since. So.
Did you guys join together?
He was visiting. He's from California. At that time, he was still in the Marine Corps. He was stationed at Pendleton. So he was coming out to visit me, to see me after he had graduated from School of Infantry. And so that's when he was out for the weekend. And then after that, he went back, and then later on went overseas. And then that's when I was like, all right, I gotta learn this, and signed up for the place.
Was it strictly gi at first, or were you doing no gi?
Me and him, it was just no gi.
Okay.
In the Marine Corps, in the MCMAP, they used their uniforms, you know what I mean? But he was also doing a little bit of gi. But at that point, I mean, he had whatever they did in basic training, and then whatever they did in School of Infantry, and then whatever he was doing on the side with his staff sergeant, I believe, at the time. So, he was maybe less than a few months of training, you know what I mean? And even then, It's such a small amount that they actually go over in there, you know what I mean? But to the untrained person, it's night and day, you know? That you don't know how to move your body in adjacency to somebody else who's trying to choke you, you know?
So I learned I couldn't even breathe. I was like, am I breathing? Like,
and you know what? And I look back, like
how
you were saying about wrestling, and I was thinking to myself, like, it's one of those things like people are like, oh, do you wish you would have done wrestling, earlier on? You know what I mean? Would that have helped, And honestly, I couldn't get down the singlet, I was like, I can't wear that.
We talked about this last time.
Like, how girls would stuff their bra. I'm the guy stuffing my singlet, and like halfway through the match, like toilet paper's coming out. I'm like, this is bad. I can't.
Yeah, right. Are those socks?
I wasn't blessed with the necessary hardware to rock a singlet, and now I see these kids, and they're able. Like, I have a couple of my kid students. They're doing the wrestling program, and they can wear fight shorts and rash guards, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I think it was a blessing.
No
I think
way.
It was a blessing because where I started, it was like I had a ton of like Arizona State University wrestlers. I had some like junior Olympic alternate wrestlers. Like everybody was a tough wrestler where I was there. So if I would have wrestled in high school, I wouldn't have done much. And it kind of forced me to be on my back and develop a good guard because of that. I didn't have anything else to fall back on, and here I am going against guys that know how to take people down. So I'm going to end up on my back, and I think that helped my natural progression of developing my guard skills.
So who is the black belt that you're under, that you've been under?
So Andre Maracaba, he's a black belt under Hedges Libre. So basically my lineage is Helio Gracie, then it's going to be Hoyler Gracie, then Hedges Libre, and then Andre Maracaba, and then myself. So he's from Brazil, trained extensively in Brazil with a lot of the Gracies, then came over and started in Philadelphia with Hedges. I was Maxercise back in the day. A guy named Steve Maxwell, one of the first American black belts. I think he's like one of the top, or one of the first 10 American black belts, had a school in Philadelphia. And so he was teaching there, and then ended up leaving and coming out here to Arizona. And then I was lucky enough to have him be my professor at Power MMA at the time. So where I first started was called Power MMA. We had a lot of UFC fighters like Ryan Bader, CB Dalloway, Chris Weidman had a Power MMA in New Jersey. It was affiliate, and so like I was blessed with that because not only did I have an amazing professor, but I had the ability to train with a bunch of UFC fighters, a bunch of Bellator fighters on the weekly, and so I feel like that was a great advantage there. But I've been with him ever since. He's to me like Yoda. To this day, I've never rolled with another black belt that is as good as him. He's been plagued by the injury bug, unfortunately. Like since I've known him, he's had 12 surgeries in like the last 10 years or something like that. So he's like never not been hurt. And but the man is like a wizard. Like his life is jiu-jitsu, his religion is jiu-jitsu, and I get to reap a lot of the benefits of that. Like this man wakes up at like 4 a.m. He has 2 different TVs, and he's watching jiu-jitsu, like whether it be blue belt matches, white belt matches, purple belt matches. He's looking for all these little these little small details, you know, and he breaks things down and sees it that way. And like, you know, I'm not there yet where I have the patience to watch it. I don't even watch jiu-jitsu at all, to be honest with you. I don't like watching jiu-jitsu. To me, it's boring. But I like doing it, you know. It's just one of those guys, and he's always getting me on about that. But the man's Yoda, so.
What a great way to train, though. Have all that talent around you. I mean, you have no choice
for
but
sure,
to get
or
better.
just get your ass quit. You know, there's always that. A lot of guys quit, you know.
For sure.
So how did you know it was going to be a good school, or did you kind of like just luck out? Like, what was the deciding factor when you got there that this was going to be the school that you were going to train at? Was it the only one in the area that, so yeah, like didn't really have a choice, or was it just a bug that, or not, I don't want to say a bug, a feeling when you walked in that you're like, this is the place I want to be?
That was like a big mega gym. Like, think about like a 24-hour fitness, but for MMA or for so I had jiu-jitsu, MMA, wrestling, boxing. Like, so Robbie Lawler was the amateur MMA coach there at the time, and like, so like, I'm like, man, this place is awesome, you know. And I didn't know much about jiu-jitsu, and so like, I probably did get a little bit lucky because I didn't do a ton of research, and thankfully I ended up at a legit place with a legit instructor and a bunch of legit teammates. But like literally, like when I was doing amateur MMA, like Robbie Lawler was my coach, and he would have like 5 or 6 people in the cage. That's it. Like it was such a small. It was like basically having a private every day. And even when I started with Andre on the jiu-jitsu mats, there'd be nights where there was 3 people, and it was like literally you're getting that one-on-one attention. Where, you know, now as a couple hundred students, it's different, you know, obviously you can't replicate yourself, but like, I feel like that was one of the big things that helped me like catapult and really like progress fast, because I had that one-on-one attention of, hey, no, this grip here, you're doing the wrong thing here. You know what I mean? And not only that, he rolled with us every night, which was a nightmare at the time. And so, you know, but in looking back, I miss those days, and I wish I could roll with him every day, you know?
So what was the class makeup like? Were you the only white belt, or was it mostly white belts, or mostly colored? Or
yeah, so
really?
Like I'm Andre's first black belt. He's been, I want to say, he's been doing jiu-jitsu for I think 30 years, something like that. And so I was his first black belt. That's one thing about him. He's not like one of these guys that's putting it out there, just like a belt factory. You know what I mean? Like he'll tell everybody straight up, and I have adopted the same philosophy with my students. Like I'll lose every student I have, rather than promote you too soon or promote you to something you didn't earn. You know what I mean? So like, you're going to earn it, you know, one way or the other. There's no easy way around it. And because he has such high standards, and they might not even be high standards, when you look around and you see like some of the watering down of jiu-jitsu, especially in America, and like we've Americanized everything. Like we want quick internet, we want fast food, we want fast everything. You know what I mean? And jiu-jitsu should be something that's very slow and takes a lot of time. So when you actually get a belt, it means something, you know? But you have schools that are like, hey, I need to stay open. I need to pay the lights. And if I promote this guy, maybe he'll stay. And, you know, and you have people that do like shady stuff about like belt testing, and you have to pay $100 to get a belt test. Like, I don't agree with that, and neither does him. It's like either you're that belt or you're not. But, you know, he really has such a high quality and high standard for what it should be. You know what I mean? He grew up, this is his whole life, like I said. So
to kind of touch on that, I didn't expect to get into the belt requirements so soon, but we're already kind of on the topic. So with that, he does have a high quality, like, and you just said you kind of adopted the same thing. So when you look at someone, are you solely looking at them as a person and their skill level, or are you looking at them comparison to everyone? Like if you're going to promote someone to purple, you're looking at all the purple belts. Like, is this person up to their standard? You know what I mean? Because we talk a lot about like how jiu-jitsu is a journey it's different for everyone. So I'm just kind of wondering like how with high standards, it's a great thing because we don't want to water down jiu-jitsu, but John's not going to be the same skill level as me. No offense, John. You know, I'm 10, 12 years younger than he is. So how do you take that into consideration?
I think it's case-by-case basis. Obviously, I'm not going to look at somebody and hold them to the same standards if the kid is 17 years old, 18 years old, has no job, and his whole life is to train jiu-jitsu. And somebody who is 50 years old, who has a family, has to go to work the next day, can only make class a couple times a week. I'm going to still expect a lot of the same stuff, but I'm not going to grade them or gauge their progress the same way. Now, the young 18-year-old kid, to me, it's hours. Really, it's hours and it's application of skill. And to know the skill. But the hours thing is big. You know, like Malcolm Gladwell talks about like the 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours or 10 years to become an expert at any given craft or skill. And I truly believe that. And so let's say you have the 18-year-old kid. Yes, he has youth on his side. He has athleticism on his side. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't know what being tired or sore is because he's only 18. And you have this kid and he's coming 5 times a week. Then you have another guy that's coming 2 times a week. Like, he's going to reach his hours much quicker than the other guy. Then you always have these outliers, whereas a guy who picks it up really quickly, maybe he has less hours than somebody else, but it flows easier for him. He's able to get the curriculum down. But to me, it still comes down to the application, okay? Do they know the knowledge? Yes. Do they know what they're supposed to know at this belt level? And can they apply it on a resisting, unwilling opponent? And that's where competition comes into play, because it's really good to see, to be able to gauge it, because you have almost like a similar person you're going against, right? If they're in the Masters division, they're competing at Masters 1, same age group. So I don't have to compare the 18-year-old. Now I can see how he does against the local competition, national competition, the tougher competitions, and see where he's at with his belt, his age, and his skill level, and then the amount of years or hours he's put in. You know what I mean? And again, hours aren't the only thing, because you have a guy that's 10,000 hours, but he still sucks. Like, all right, is he gonna get a black belt someday? Absolutely. As long as he doesn't quit, he's gonna get a black belt. Is he gonna get it as quick as somebody else?
Yeah.
No. It might take him 20 years to be able to finally master it and finally learn it. And not only that, I feel like one of the huge things that I love about jiu-jitsu is the endlessness of it. It can't be mastered. You're literally learning an art, or I tell my students all the time, you're studying a book and studying a course and reading a book that's still being written. So you can never say I'm finished. You can never say I'm done. That's what intrigues me most about jiu-jitsu. So, but I mean, like, it's unfair to gauge and be able to put 2 people side by side that are like, oh man, this guy's had 4 knee surgeries. This kid has 0 injuries at all. He doesn't know what sore is. So I still try to grade it with the application of technique, the technique, and the hours and the stuff they put in. Obviously, the guy that's competing more, I'm going to have feedback from those tournaments. Like, hey, this guy's crushing it. He just won state. He just won double gold at nationals. He just won the no-gi world championships. He's probably ready for the next belt, whatever age and belt he's at, because he's destroying everybody else. Like, we got to get him better competition. We got to move him up. So the competition's a good way to gauge, because it gives you that honest feedback, you know? But then you get guys that don't ever compete, and that's okay too. Then you're going to have to gauge them against the people in your gym that are the same age and same belt, you know?
And that know you. So I, the first time I competed, for a lot, I was like, man, am I getting this or am I not getting this? You know, and the people I roll with in the gym, they know me. They know what my tendencies are, everything. And showed up for that first tournament, and I was like, man, I'm doing way better here. Like it was fast, it was quick. I didn't have time to think, because they're trying to kill me as soon as the match started. And I was like, okay, I am getting this. So it's a good kind of validation too when you go and do a tournament. Like, if you know it or not, because you don't have time to
Exactly. And I think also when you're in the gym, rising tides raise all ships. So you may not feel like you're getting better, but your teammates are getting better just like you. So it's hard to gauge, like, man, I'm not being able to tap this guy out, or I can't ever sweep this guy. Well, he's getting better too. But then you have a newer guy come in, and you're like, oh, fuck, I can do whatever I want with him. Like, okay, if I were to fight me 6 months ago, I'm here now. But if I'm only gauging myself against my teammates who are also all getting better, that's what, like you said, the tournament, you're like, whoa, I did way better than I could. Well, of course, like, you guys, you get into it all the time with people in the same gym. Like, it's almost like a stalemate sometimes, because you know their game.
Yes, absolutely.
And they know your game, so it's kind of like, all right, we're going to shut each other down. They know you better than almost you do, you know? So when you go to a tournament, this guy has no idea what I'm good at. And it's like, all right, I can really do what I want and see what I have.
Yeah, I've noticed I've traveled a lot for work, and when I go train at gyms in other states, I do a lot better. And I've realized that's because they don't know me. I get back here, and you're absolutely right. It's like stalemate,
For sure.
So, Matt, we talk about how competition is a good way to gauge yourself against other people, and especially with someone the same size as you and whatnot. And John mentioned that we do travel quite a bit for work sometimes. Sometimes we are in places for months at a time, literally like San Diego, Japan, and stuff like that. I haven't competed yet, but I do like to drop in at other schools. Do you feel like there's anything wrong? I know back in the day, old school jiu-jitsu was you don't go to another school because you don't want them to see your secrets, right? Do you, I wouldn't say promote, or how do you feel about your students going to other gyms to, like, for a class or to drop in, or they have friends doing it and they want to do it with their friends?
I encourage all my guys to cross-train if they want to cross-train. Like, I think people that do that are either very old school in their mentality and thinking, or they're also scared of the product they're putting out. You know what I mean? Like, me, I'm 100% confident in my product I'm putting out. Like, if I have a blue belt that goes to any other school, they're going to hang with their blue and purples and maybe even some of their browns. because I have a good standard and I know what I expect from my guys. So I'm not insecure about that, where some people, maybe they are. They're like, hey, they go to that school and it's like, man, my guy got his ass kicked by everybody there. He doesn't want to train with me anymore and he quits. You're like, all right, well, I see why, but so there could be some insecurity there. Then there's also some Creonche type thing, saying you can't go and train other places. But back to your point about people feel like maybe they don't want to give up their secrets. Like if you're training consistently with like guys that are in your division, I don't think that's a good thing, especially if you like to compete a lot. Because one, you're making it a little more like friendly so that when you guys do compete, maybe you're going to pull back a little because the guy's your buddy and maybe he doesn't pull back and you end up losing the match because something like that. And not only that, like we talked about training with people all the time, like you learn their habits, you learn their patterns, and then it becomes a stalemate. So if I am going to an open mat or a gym and I know like, hey, this guy's in my division, we fought before, I usually hold back. I go about like 50%, you know what I mean? And I save that rest for the tournament. Or if I'm working on something new, I won't go to something like that. Like I'd rather lose there because it doesn't matter to me and let the guy have a bigger ego. Like, oh man, I beat Matt today. But then when it goes to the tournament, it's like, oh, he's a fucking different guy. So, but for one of my students, absolutely. I think it's a great thing. I think you can learn a lot, from taking different people's classes. The one thing that I would say that's dangerous, though, is, as you guys know, there's plenty of McDojos in jiu-jitsu. The one thing I think is dangerous, if you're just a brand new white belt and you have no idea, like barely know how to tie your belt, and you're going to some of these gyms that are, because you're traveling, it's the only gym in town, and you go there, you could pick up some bad habits, too. So I've been to gyms before where, like, I was a purple belt, and, like, the instructor's showing something, and I'm like, fuck, all right, I'm going to drill this out of respect. But as soon as I leave here, I'm going to wipe this shit clean from my mind and never, ever do this again. Because either it was something that was wrong or it was something that wouldn't work. But I'm at the gym. And right there, I'm there to try to roll. So I got to go through the class to get to the rolling point. And I'm going to be respectful. Obviously, the person invited me into their gym. They were kind enough to let me in. And it might not be that person's fault. I'm not saying they're selling snake oil, but they might not be at the level that I'm used to. So there's always that. So I think that would be the one downfall, would be going there and like picking up a bunch of bad habits. Again, though, if you're traveling and it's 2 days, I don't think you're going to pick up any lasting bad habits in those 2 days. And going to other gyms, you meet a lot of really cool people. Yeah. And your circle becomes a little bigger. Like I've been to places, I meet a guy and, hey, come train with us. And we go train. And it's like, anytime you're in town, please come back and train with us. And they invite me to like secret open mats sometimes that they have on a Sunday. And then like you make friends. And then when they come in there in your city, like, hey, come train with me now, And so I feel like it makes you better. And jiu-jitsu is one of those sports where it's kind of really a welcoming place, for the most part.
So, Matt, how do you balance everything, your competition, work, and family life?
So as of right now, it's gotten a little easier because I was able to finally quit my job.
Congratulations.
My full-time job, and actually teach jiu-jitsu and focus on jiu-jitsu the last half of this year, or the last half of 2021. But before that, it was a juggling act, big time. I have 3 kids and I have a wife. I had a full-time job where I was sometimes working like 60 hours plus a week. And then I'm teaching 4 classes, trying to be a dad, like burning the candle at both ends. And it's tough, you got to do what you can. Like, hey, I can't make it to go train with my professor today and my teammates because, work. But I have my white belts and my blue belts that I can train with that are at my school, and you just make the most of it, like fit in when you can. I want to go to the gym, all right, I got to wake up at 4 a.m., like there was a time when I was a purple belt where I literally could not make a class almost the whole year just because of my work schedule. And so I'd go in at 4 a.m. and I'd drill on a bag. The bag had no arms and it had no legs, but I knew where the arms and legs should have been. And I'd do kimores, I'd do triangles, I'd do omoplatas, I'd pass, I'd sweep that bag, invert and go underneath the bag. And my professor used to come in, and actually when he gave me my black belt, he talked about it, he'd come in, start his day around 5 a.m. and I'd already be there in a sweat, and been there for an hour by myself with nobody watching, just putting in the work. So I feel like it's a juggling act, but I feel like just like anything else in life, like if there's a will, there's a way, like you gotta want it, and I also feel like the next generation is getting a little softer when it comes to that. That's the GoFundMe generation and like, oh, pay for all my tournaments because I want to be awesome. Like, no, man, do the work. Like, do the work when nobody's watching you. Do the work not for Instagram. Do the work because you want to do the work. Like, you can find a way. There's people that have it way worse than you, and they're still able to find a way and get their dreams and accomplish their goals. So it's definitely a juggling act, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I think he's got. It's good hearing that because we work 60+ hours a week and we all have kids and, we talk about it all the time. and it's funny, but almost every place I look at, for us, we have one time per class, and that's 6 p.m. And I'm like, man,
Twice a week.
I'm like, man, I wish they had an earlier class, especially for us. I got to be up at 4 or whatnot and at work. But, that doesn't seem to be a big thing. I don't ever really see at any school classes earlier in the afternoon. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, Matt, you mentioned, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell. I read his books too. I think he also mentioned that you can only be good at or you can only be an expertise at 2 or 3 things at a time. Otherwise, something else is slacking. When you mentioned the juggling act, what was the one thing where you were kind of like, okay, this has to go to the wayside so I can get the training in, or I got to skip the training because I need the family time? You know what I mean? Like, how did you differentiate on which one you were going to have to just like hold off on?
So I try to prioritize it in the sense of this. I always went in with this as like, hey, it's not my kid's dream to become a world champion. It's not my kid's or my wife's dream to become, a school owner. It's all these goals and aspirations are mine. So I can't put them above that. Like, they got to come before that, and I got to do the rest on the side. You know what I mean? Now, again, you're stretching yourself so thin. You only have so many hours in the day, but you got to make do. But I at least try to prioritize at that time like that. It was like, hey, I can't be selfish in the sense that, like, they should not suffer because of my goals. You know what I mean? So, like, and there's stuff like there'd be times where I'd fall asleep on the couch, or I'd read my kid a story and fall asleep in bed with them, and I wake up, and then then my wife's upset, like, why didn't you come to bed last night? Oh, I'm sorry, I fell asleep. I'm tired from training and tired from working. So, but I agree with the Malcolm Gladwell thing. It's like you don't have enough time to be an expert at everything, and in doing so, you're taking energy away from something else. And it's the same, like even teaching. Teaching is taking energy away that you have to work on yourself, and you're filling that energy and pushing it into your students. So you're sacrificing some of your own to give to them. That energy could be spent on you working on yourself and training, and now you're having to expend some of that energy onto them to make them, good jiu-jitsu fighters and teach them Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah, I saw this video on Instagram the other day that I don't remember who reposted it, but it was I forgot who it was. It was down in Brazil, and he was giving a speech to his students, and he's talking about how when you become a black belt, you are now the servant. Like, you are there for other people. You are teaching other people. You are there to help other people. It's no longer about you. It's now about like what you can do to improve everyone else. Is that your kind of mindset when you're teaching too? Because I know you're a very active competitor. If you guys don't know, what's your pedigree? Like, you have like so many damn medals and like championships and everything like that. So how does your mindset go when you're in the class? Are you 100% dedicated, or do you kind of have like, okay, so I need to teach them this, but I kind of need to work on this? Like, how do you balance that also?
So look, my goal is this. I want my students to be better than me. I think that is the really like the work of anybody who does anything. Like, they want the person, like the apprentice, to become better than the master. And so like then I know like I did my job right. Like obviously I set a high standard, so my students are like, fuck, I got to really work hard to get this. But honestly, that's my goal. Is like I want my students to be better than I was, to do more than I was. And I feel like, especially like my kids, the youth students I have, like, they have such a good advantage with that because they have time on their side. Like they have the next 15 to 20 years. Like some of them started when they were 4 or 5 years old with me, and now they're absolute killers. And I'm like, man, when these guys get to be 15 and 16-year-old blue belts, they're going to be the kids that are like beating up on black belts and everything else. So, but no, I mean, I when I'm in class, it's about them, and then like during the adult class, it's obviously a little different because I try to roll with my students every night. If I'm hurt or sick or something like that, or feeling under the weather, then I don't roll on those nights. But for the most part, I try to roll with all my students as much as possible. That way they're getting the benefit of that too. Because man, it's just the connection there. I see some schools where the professor doesn't roll, or the coach doesn't roll with his students, and I feel like they're doing their guys a disservice, because that rolling is a bonding experience too, like
absolutely
you're having fun, and it kind of glues you guys and gels you together, like you're battling it out with each other.
So do you have any other black belts in your school, or are you the only black belt?
So there's me, then there's Jake Watson. He's a adult black belt. He's like top 10 medium heavy black belt in the world for IBJJF. Then Eddie and Tim, and John. So 5 black belts now. I'm the first, and then they came after me. So then they've all been within the last few years.
Okay,
and these are guys that have started with him from white to black.
Okay, because that's one thing I was going to ask is, do you find it, since you run your own school and class and everything like that, do you find it hard to find quality training of partners? Because, being the owner of the school, you have more responsibilities than the other people in the school. But if you have 5 other black belts, then obviously you probably get some good rolling in, right?
Yeah, well, that's at my professor's gym.
Oh,
so
okay.
At my professor's gym, yeah, so when I'm able to make it there, absolutely, I got some good guys to train with, And not only that, he has a bunch of good colored belts, he has a ton of guys that have won Pan Ams and won Worlds and Nogi Worlds, Masters Worlds, that thing. So I'm always getting to roll with those good guys. But there's times where, when I was working, I couldn't make it there, so I'm training with my guys. And a lot of people's, philosophy is like the fishbowl. Like, hey, the fish only grows as big as the bowl. And some people take the approach of, I need to get a bigger fishbowl to get better. And my approach is, well, I just modify the fishbowl I'm in to make it suit me so I can grow. And so there's things I will do with my students. Like, I'll handicap myself. Like, all right, I'm only going to play this guard the whole time. Or, hey, man, I'm going to let the guy pass my guard. Or like things like that or start in a bad position, you know what I mean? Or work on my C game, not even my B or my A game with those guys. It makes it hard, And not only that, like, sometimes I'm training like 3 times a day and then working out in the gym now. Like, by the time I'm teaching my night class, like, I'm dead already. So my white belts start to feel like blue belts because I'm tired. Or my blue belts start to feel like purple belts because I'm tired, And not only that, my goal is to make them better than me. So if I'm doing my job right, they're going to give me competitive rolls because I'm breaking it down. I'm not holding anything back. You know what I mean? And during those roll sessions, I'm literally stopping sometimes and pointing them out. Like, hey, man, I caught you in the loop choke. Hey, pull my elbow down before I get behind your head. Don't let the collar, address the collar grip. Like, I'm teaching them while I'm rolling how to stop what I'm doing to them. Because I know that's going to make them better, and it's also going to be beneficial for me because the better they are, the better training partners I have in my fishbowl, and I don't have to go to another fishbowl,
That's interesting. We're probably 3.5 years or so in our jiu-jitsu, and one thing I've never really seen, is it more than that now?
We're coming up on 5 years.
No way.
Swear to God.
At least one of you's keeping track.
I never get to see high level.
Like an old married couple.
High level jiu-jitsu.
It's 15 years married.
But honestly, think of how many times we've seen high level jiu-jitsu.
No, it's true.
I very rarely have seen any high level rolling. Even as far as our instructors, I never get to see them like roll in a tournament, or I've never seen 2 black belts roll like in person with my own eyes. And the only time I've ever really seen that is I think Roy Dean's Pure Rolling, where they have a bunch of black belts that just roll against each other. And that was amazing. I wish we could see that more in our gym or any gym. I've never really seen it.
There's only one school in the area that has George Hassang. He's Marcelo Alonso. He's his first American black belt in the Pacific Northwest. And his school, he's been doing jiu-jitsu since, the early 90s. So he's brought up a lot of black belts underneath him, obviously.
Yeah.
And so when we go there at Hybrid Gym over in Bremerton, Washington, when we go there, they have like 6, 7 black belts in a class. And I'm like, I don't think these kids don't understand. Like, I feel like a lot of them don't understand how lucky that really is. Because we have one black belt, and he's no offense to our professor. He listens to our show, but it's not his full-time thing. It's not his school. Yeah. It's our buddy Cody's school. So when his personal life has to come first. So he's a wrestling coach for a high school. So when wrestling season starts, he has to take care of that, So I get jealous of those schools where I'm like, I wish we had like 3 black belts that just smashed us all the freaking time, because I feel like when we first started, Cody was a purple belt, or the gym owner. He was a purple belt, and everyone was white. So, like you said, you just got your butt kicked by someone that was such a higher level than you. It really made you catapult up, and I feel like that happened to us until we got to our blue belt, and then kind of like not plateaued. I hate that word, especially in jiu-jitsu, but it's kind of like leveled out. Everyone kind of got to the same level.
Stagnation,
Yeah, and so now what we need now is like that experience of just,
for sure,
bring us the more black belts.
or you modify it. So when I was telling you before, like when I started with Andre, is there was only white belts. You know what I mean? Like, and then we had a couple blues after a couple years. The guys got promoted and stuff like that. And I didn't have purple belts to beat me up. I didn't have brown belts to beat me up. I didn't have black belts when my professor was hurt to beat me up. So I had to make the best out of the situation. And so what I would do is I'm like, all right, I would simulate how it would be at a tournament towards the end of the match, right? It's okay. Anybody can fight when they feel good, when they're happy, when they're hydrated, when they're not hurt, when they're not sore, when they're not exhausted in the first match. Anybody can do that. That's easy jiu-jitsu. How does jiu-jitsu really pan out when you're exhausted, when you're hurt, when you're tired, when you just cut 5 pounds a day up and then you have to fight and you have to drink water? And so what I would do is I would go and I would work out an hour and a half before the classes start, and I would do like really high intensity workouts to where I'm exhausted by the time class starts. And then when I went to put my belt on and it's time to start class, like every one of those white belts felt like a blue belt. Every one of those blue belts felt like a purple belt. And what it did is it actually helped me, because now if you go to a competition and you're 5 rounds in and you're in the 4th or 5th match at a big tournament, you're exhausted. And if you've never fought exhausted, you don't know how to do that. But what it did is it taught me how to fight exhausted. And the thing is, when you have no strength and you have no explosive energy and you have no energy left altogether because you're already zapped to begin with, it forces you to rely on the technique. And not only that, it forces you to rely on every step of the technique in order for it to work. So you learn how to do the most possible with the minimal amount of strength and energy because you have none. It forces you to do that. And you're going to get your ass kicked for a while when it happens, but you got to be okay with that. That's part of the growth mindset, which everybody should have. So that's something you guys can do and put it in place. Like, man, I'm crushing all these guys. All right, I'm going to handicap myself. I'm going to roll with one arm tonight, and I'm going to hold my belt the whole time. That's going to make your guard better. And then what happens when, hey, I hurt my shoulder? I had that happen to me several times.
I'm about to do that for real.
Yeah, my shoulder's hurt. I can't use it. Okay, hey, we've been here before. Why? Because we handicapped ourselves. And so like there's things like that you can do though you don't got to change gyms. Yeah, and on the flip side, like you were saying, like I had guys that would come into the gym and I'd be like, damn, you have 10 black belts on the mat. That's so freaking cool. And they're like, no, dude, I get my ass kicked every day. It's not fun, And I think you need a healthy dose of winning and losing to really grow.
I agree.
If you're getting your ass kicked all the time, especially when you first start, it's not going to help you.
Very
and
disheartening.
If you're winning all the time when you first start, it's not going to help you either. Like you need both to grow,
Matt, I got a question for you as someone that competes a lot.
I like how you always, but real quick, I like how you always say that. We're interviewing him. You don't have to let him know you have a question.
One thing I think that's
it could have been just a comment, right?
Matt, I got a comment.
All right, I got tagged in on this one. Sorry.
This is weird to me, and it's always been weird to me, is why do we start sitting down? When we compete, we're standing. And I feel like we never get any experience standing until we're competing. And it throws me off. I don't understand that.
So I think there's a time and a place for it. I feel like statistically, you have a much higher chance of getting hurt from standing than you do from the bottom. And reason being is, A, you're up higher. So if you do fall, you post on a hand, you post on an elbow, you hit your head, you tweak your knee. Some stupid guy jumped guard and hit you in the knees and blew out both your knees. I feel like there's just a higher probability of you getting injured as opposed to starting on your knees or starting on your butt. That being said, you need to have both. You need to be able to train both. And sometimes it's about, that risk of like, I've seen it happen a lot. Guys get hurt training for competitions, and a lot of times it's on the feet. You know what I mean? A guy tears his ACL, a guy went for a takedown and kind of fell wrong. The guy twisted his knee and then bam, I know you can't take all the risk out of it. There's always the possibility of injury. But I feel like time and a place. Hey, we're getting ready for the tournament. All right, let's start drill from our feet, especially if you're a guy that's going to do takedowns or, even if you're going to pull guard. You need to know how to do it with a standing opponent. But I think doing it every day does increase your risk,
So when would you think is a good time to start that? For like Travis's case, his competition's in March. We're in January.
Yeah.
So when would you think is a good time to really start honing in on that stand-up game?
So I would say, depending on your game plan, like for me, you have to have a game plan. I tell all my students, your game plan is the roadmap to the podium. If you have no game plan, you pretty much have no chance of getting to the podium, in my opinion, unless you just go ape shit and it works out for you. But you're going in there with it like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm going to see what the guy does. I hear this all the time too. If he looks like a wrestler, then I'm going to pull. If he doesn't look like a wrestler, I'm going to go like, okay, so you're going to like, the guy's wearing a singlet when he shows up, or just because he has cauliflower ear. So basically what you're doing though is you have zero game plan. Your plan is going to be dependent on another human being, and therefore you're already playing into their game plan.
Yeah,
you're giving yourself zero probability to succeed. So I would say, if you're going to compete in March, start working that stuff now, but work it with somebody you trust. Work it with somebody you trust. Right there. You guys trust each other already. You're already in close proximity, right? So you're touching elbows almost. That's good. That's the guy you can trust. I
got to keep my elbows tight. Sorry. It's honestly.
Like the airline, the little sand thing.
So the only someone brought up this argument about jiu-jitsu and takedowns, and I thought it was actually very intriguing because I brought up wrestling earlier, and in wrestling, it always starts from the feet, and and maybe it's because when you're a wrestler, especially when you're competing in wrestling, you're younger, right? So your body's probably a little bit more honed into not getting injured, or you recover faster, like we mentioned before. Which I don't even know if I should ask this question now because I kind of just answered my own question, right? Because most people that do jiu-jitsu are older, right? So we're more injury prone and whatnot. So where do you think that we could take in from like wrestling, where they always train takedowns every day, right? Like it is to takedown and then ground control, and then bring that over into jiu-jitsu to where we can focus a little bit more. I know in judo they have throw mats and whatnot, and they really, really focus on falling. Like it is like pediment of like you have to know how to fall because you can't get thrown 30 times in a class if you don't know how to fall. Yeah. Like where do you see that we could improve in jiu-jitsu to get takedowns better?
I mean, it all depends because you really have to split in the game. You know, like I think it's just like anything else. Like it's like, all right, half the people want to do takedowns, the other people are going to pull guard. So should every practitioner know how to do a couple takedowns? Absolutely. Should that be their goal? No. And you always hear these people that do the top game or do the takedowns like, oh, you're never going to get into Valhalla if you don't know how to do a takedown or whatever. Or like guard pullers aren't people, whatever it may be. Like, but all that really tells me is that you suck at passing the guard. Like, jiu-jitsu is a game. Like, all right, we have judo, we have wrestling, we have jiu-jitsu, and it's all combined in one. And you're telling me that you can't, if someone pulls on you, you didn't get to do your takedown. You suck at passing the guard if you're worried about that. If just get better at passing the guard. Why does that person have to learn takedowns now so you can beat him at takedowns even though you were already better at takedowns? Like, it's strategy. Like, if he plays better on his back, you have a tall, lengthy guy that really likes a guard, he's going to play that. If you can't stop his game, then you suck at jiu-jitsu. It's not that he needs to learn takedowns, you know? So I think half the people are going to be split in that anyways. Half are going to want to pull guard regardless, so they're not going to really, their main focus isn't going to be takedown, you know? Where the other half, their main focus is going to be playing takedown and playing top game. So, but to kind of answer what you were saying with the wrestling in high school, like, you see a lot of those guys that wrestled in high school and college, like, by the time they're done, their bodies are kind of beat up. They're messed up.
That's true. You know? That is very true.
Because of that grind. And so I want to be able to have my students do jiu-jitsu for the rest of their life. I think it's one of those, like, me, I want to die in my gi. You know, I want to be like, even if I'm on the Rascal scooter, like, you know, with all my medals on it, going to the mat. And that's another thing. I want to earn the scooter, you know? I don't want to get it because I had diabetes, because I ate like a fat ass and got my foot cut off. I want to get it because I wrecked my body doing jiu-jitsu. And I'm okay if I don't play bingo or I don't get to play golf, you know? But I think I want to do that forever. So if I can save my body a little bit at a time, okay. But in wrestling, I feel like if it's not working, you're not doing it hard enough. Push through, push through, push through. Jiu-jitsu, I feel like if it's not working, you're not working smart enough. I feel like jiu-jitsu is very cerebral in the fact of like, I want to find the easiest way to do something. It's almost lazy in a sense. But because it's lazy, you're going to become more efficient with it, you know? And so that's less taxing on your body, you know? And so I guess it's a fine line, and it really boils down to what that person's mission statement or what their goals are, you know, and what their game plan is.
So I saw the other day that you posted something about point fighters. Do you hold point fighters and guard pullers like at the same level? Or
oh, absolutely not. No.
Are you going to ask the question?
So I guess the question are the pinnacle of jiu-jitsu. Right? Oh. Then there's those people who have no idea how to pass someone's guard. Then we have wrist lockers and point fighters.
Whoa! Wrist lockers? Are you serious?
I love my wrist lockers.
Hold on. Okay, to be fair, wrist lockers are here because they are submission fighters, so they're here.
Okay, all right.
I was about to ask you this question. So leading up to a competition, we were heavy on points, and in my brain, I was like, I don't care about points. I want the submission. I want this over as fast as possible so I'd have energy for the next round.
Yeah.
But I like to ask people, so I don't know. I think we've agreed we'd rather just a submission.
Yeah, absolutely.
I go for the submission. That's all I want.
Even if I lose, like at least I know that I was like going for it.
I just want the submission. I don't want to worry about points.
Well, I think there's a couple different ways that you have to look at it. Like for me, I always try to finish everybody, and I have a high submission rate. You know, it's something like 200 and I think 210 or something like that. Guys,
and you just had a 54-second submission, right? It was the at Worlds.
10 second, and then a 7 second or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm very submission oriented, and the reason being is like you hear it all the time, especially if you're on the tournament scene. You hear guys leaving the tournament like, "Oh, beat me by 2 points," or "He beat me by an advantage." You know, like it's kind of like a way of excusing that you didn't really lose. But if the guy submitted you, you can't really say much. Like, fuck, he's better than me. And not only that, it's more of a pure form of fighting because, yeah, you can be a great point fighter and win by an advantage because you put a guy in 50-50, but you're not going to do that on the streets. If you can finish people, then you actually have good jiu-jitsu that can translate into fighting. Because what is a finish? All right, I just broke this guy's foot off with a toe hold or a heel hook, or I just put this dude to sleep, or I comored him and dislocated his shoulder and separated his shoulder. Like, in the streets, that's what's going to stop a lot of those fights right then and there. Like, that is like a death blow almost, you know? And the point fighting, that's not the same. And I feel like, unfortunately, like, the jiu-jitsu we're seeing now is a lot more point fighting oriented, you know? And so I try to tell my guys, like, look, and something like my professor would get on me all the time. Like when I was at black belt, he's like, "Matt, you're at black belt now. Like it's going to be hard to submit a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys are going to play really smart, and they're going to have a strategy to face you." And I'm like, he said, "You're not going to be able to submit everybody." And for a little while, I kind of adopted that, you know, and tried to play differently. And I'm like, this is just not me. If I'm going to play this game, I'm just going to get better at my submissions then, and I'm going to submit as many people as possible. And now it's starting to break through at black belt where I'm like, I'm able to catch a lot of these guys by submission, and it wasn't that I had to modify my game. I just had to make my submissions that much sharper, you know? But I feel like there's no argument. You beat a guy by submission, hey, he can't see shit. You know, it's like, dude, you tapped, you know? And what is a tap in the streets? There's no such thing. So I feel like it translates better that way. And there's a lot of guys, though, that play the rules better. They might not have better jiu-jitsu than you, but they play the rule set better than you do. And at the end of the day, it's a game, you know. And if they're smarter than you and they played the game better than you, okay. But I'd rather lose a fight trying to finish the guy than win all my matches, you know, by advantage points. And you see it all the time. Guys in 50-50 and guy sits up and gets an advantage or sits up and gets 2 points. And at the end of the match, he rips his shirt off to show his abs that he has from steroids. And I'm like,
steroid busted abs.
You knew you were winning by advantage for the last 5 minutes. So that's another thing entirely. I get pretty like eked about guys that get up and like over celebrate, you know, because you have little eyes that watch, little feet that follow, and little ears that hear, and so you see these little kids coming up now, and they're like ripping off their shirts and like you know, and I'm like, fuck, dude, this little 8-year-old's on juice or what is wrong with this guy? And it's not that; it's because they've had so many bad examples to look forward to, you know, like if you're ripping off your shirt after every match, what that tells me is that was a surprise for you. To me, winning is not a surprise. It's an expectation. When I step foot on the mat, I expect to get my hand raised. So it's not a surprise. And I've done it plenty of times where it's not like, oh, gosh, I can't believe I did this, you know? To me, that just shows me that those guys are insecure about that. That or they're just pumped full of steroids and they have to get that release out, you know? One or the other. So
they're like, look, I took all these steroids. I have to show my abs off.
Yes, I have to show you my abs. I thought about painting. That's another thing is I have no abs, so no one ever called me out for that. They're like, dude, Matt has one ab. There's no way. He's not on the juice, for sure.
I don't even have the one.
Well, I got one. And I got one up on you.
So, Matt, you don't like when you see, like on Flow Grappling, IBJJF, the guy staring at the clock for the last minute and a half, just smiling, knowing that he's not going to get submitted and he's going to win it? You don't like that?
Super
What's wrong with that?
Right? I mean, that's the pinnacle of the sport that we're at now, you know? It's like, getting people up off their seats. I always tell my professor, he's like, because he gives me shit sometimes, like, nah, you could have just fucking won that. You didn't have to, like, kind of submit the guy. You were already winning, you know? And I'm like, no, I got to finish it. I'm like, those people paid $10 spectators to get in here to watch the show, and it's my responsibility to show them a show, you know?
I like it. I like it.
It's so funny that you mentioned that you don't watch jiu-jitsu or, you know, because I feel guilty about this, especially having a podcast about jiu-jitsu. We are not students of the game like that. You know what I mean? Like, we interview some people and they talk about high-level guys in jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, I should probably research that guy after this interview.
Well, I'm addicted to like combat jiu-jitsu. I watch a ton of that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's just a little bit more realistic to me.
And a little more exciting. A lot less point fighting when you're getting slapped in the face and you can't just hold it.
Yes. Because, you know, I had that problem early on.
Getting slapped in the face?
No, in some of the classes, I was like, man, I don't want to do that. If I did that in the street, I'm getting like punched in the face.
Yeah.
You know, it was just difficult for me to accept that. And then I saw combat jiu-jitsu, and I was like, and that's what I'm talking about. You see that guy get slapped? Like, that's it right there.
For sure.
Yep. We interviewed Nathan Orchard, and he's, obviously Eddie Bravo black belt, huge in combat jiu-jitsu. And he transferred over from MMA, was very successful at MMA, and came into jiu-jitsu. And this was before combat jiu-jitsu, so he like skyrocketed in jiu-jitsu. And I was like, what do you think was like the biggest thing, like that was the separating why you did so good? He's like, oh, I wasn't getting punched in the face anymore, so it was a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so now there's combat jiu-jitsu, so it's like you watch some of that stuff, man, and like they're walking out like busted eyebrows, like MMA fights, like they're getting palm strike to the nose, and I'm like, you guys are insane, man. I am a filthy casual. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. 100% a filthy casual. If someone knees me in the face in class, I'm like, look, dude, I have to go to work tomorrow. Yeah. Okay.
Now I have all over my face.
Yeah, I have a 401k to worry about. Okay. So
that's awesome.
My wife's gonna be pissed.
Yeah. My credit score is way too high to have this.
I think it just went down 6 points. Thanks, bro. Like now I look like a hooligan. So, but you obviously compete quite a bit, like you mentioned beforehand. What was the hardest competition that you did, and the biggest takeaway from that?
So for me, it'd be a series of them. I've won a lot, but Nogi Worlds was like my white whale. It was something I couldn't ever accomplish. It took me forever to win it, and. At Purple Belt, I won double gold at Pan Ams, I won nationals, won a bunch of stuff at Purple Belt. Purple Belt was really successful for me, and Nogi Worlds was one that I couldn't ever do it. I'd either get hurt, like right before, like one time I got a broken nose and a concussion. The other time I got in a car accident, like the week of. Another time I had a rib out of place and almost missed weight. And so at Brown Belt, I'm like, all right, well, hey, this is like, I'm getting up there, and this is like my, I think, 4th or 5th trying to win, not at Brown Belt, but over the course of the belt, trying to win Nogi Worlds. And this is my first match, and guy dove on a Kimura, and I ended up rolling and taking his back, and he ended up getting me in a straight arm lock from the back because he still had the Kimura grip. And I couldn't clear my elbow, and my elbow got popped like 8 times, and it was pretty bad. But I just resolved myself. I always told myself, like, look, if I have the ability to win something like that I haven't won before, that's really meant a lot to me, I'm willing to sacrifice my arm for that, whatever. And so I ended up clearing it and choking the guy out with one arm, and my elbow was like clicking and really swollen. And I should have done that in the finals, but that was the first match, so I still had more matches to do that day. But after that, I went and submitted everybody else, and couldn't use much of my arm because it was kind of toast after that. I ended up tearing my bicep into my arm and getting my elbow pretty hyperextended. And it clicked for about a year, like in and out. But it's all better now. But to me, that would have been like one of the ones that I really look at, and I'm like, all right, that's a memorable one because it took so many tries to do it. Another one would be Pan Ams when I won double gold at Purple Belt. I had a lot going on in my life then. I ended up I had a nervous breakdown almost, and ended up having like panic attacks, like 8 to 10 every single day. And for a whole course of whole course of a year, I suffered with like massive anxiety, and I lost my job of 10 years, got laid off. And like literally like cleaning toilets at a friend's house to get money to go to Pan Ams. And then I went there and, I won 7 matches and won double gold and submitted 6 of the guys. And my professor gave me shit afterwards. Like, I thought you said you were going to submit everybody. What happened in the finals? I beat the guy, by 2 points, I think. And, but that was a memorable one too, because it was like, man, like I had so much crappy shit going on in my life, and I was able to kind of still do that, So those 2 stand out the most for me as memorable moments, both the Nogi Worlds at Brown Belt and then the Purple Belt Pan Ams double gold.
Yeah, perseverance, I feel, is a big thing that we learn in jiu-jitsu as a byproduct. Like, it's not like there's no technique to persevering through something. There's no class dedicated to it, right? Like, you mentioned earlier, it's easy to train when you feel good, right? But where we make the most progress is when we're not 100%. And I'm not saying we should train through injuries or anything like that. If you're injured, you should definitely take the time off and recover, because you're just going to cause more detriment to your body than that. But the days of where you're sitting on the couch and you're tired and you're like, I don't think I should go, this and that, right? Especially when you're first starting, I feel like that first 2 years is really of your journey is really where you lay the foundation of who you're going to be as a practitioner, right? And then you throw it all away to get your blue belt and just quit. So it's like But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like perseverance is such a strong byproduct of training jujitsu, and especially in kids. I absolutely love seeing, like you mentioned earlier, 3-4-year-old kids on the mat, learning confidence, learning that self-defense and whatnot. Like, it teaches such value when they're so young that I feel like you don't really get anywhere else besides like martial arts, right? And your kids are heavy into competing in jiu-jitsu too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the byproducts you talked about is jiu-jitsu for kids and adults, but for kids especially, it teaches them to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You're put in situations where you can't move, sometimes you can't breathe, someone's trying to choke you, someone's trying to attack you. And as a result of that, you learn a calmness and a comfortableness, and that bleeds over into every aspect of life. Hey, I got to go for a job interview. All right, well, I know I can kick the guy's ass, and B, I know that person.
You're so right.
That person's not
so right.
I mean, yeah, B, I know the person's not going to choke me out or attack me, and I deal with that every day. Therefore, life becomes easier.
Yes.
Like they say, do what is hard, and your life will be easy. Do what's easy, and your life will be hard. If you're doing something hard every day, then every part of your life after that becomes easy because of jiu-jitsu. Not only that, you develop those problem-solving skills. Each day you're posed with a new problem. All right, well, how do I get out of this position? I keep getting stuck in this position. And it forces your brain to think different ways and to think out of the box. One thing my professor told me about jiu-jitsu that really struck home, and it bleeds over into life, is life is like jiu-jitsu. You're never always on top. Sometimes you're going to be swept and you're going to be on the bottom. But the good thing about jiu-jitsu, just like life, you're never on the bottom forever. You're going to get a sweep and you're going to get back on top. You know what I mean? And that's the ebb and flow of life. And I think in the jiu-jitsu gym, those kids learning both the win and the loss helps them like really even out their temperament and realize like, all right, well, hey, shit's not going good right now in jiu-jitsu, but then I start winning again, and that's life. Hey, man, like, oh, my wife left me, or I lost my job, or my kid's in the hospital. All right, we're here. But that's not always where it's going to stay. It's not always that nosedive, and it's the peaks and valleys. And I think that really is a byproduct of jiu-jitsu that's really, really beneficial.
So how do you handle when your kids do lose, right? Because I know, especially at a young age, they take things there very differently than a level-headed, mature adult, right? Like, and to kind of like validate that, when I first started jiu-jitsu, when I would get tapped multiple times and get my butt kicked for an hour and a half, it was very discouraging, right? It was an emotional event. Like, it's like, you would sit there and you're like, holy crap, man, like I am just getting my butt kicked right now. Like, how do you help kids, when they go through that? Because it's a completely different thing than when adults do it.
So I always try to like have my kids adopt, and this is both my sons and my daughter, but also my kids' students. I try to have them adopt a growth mindset. Like, we're here to grow. And sometimes losses are necessary. And there's that old adage in jiu-jitsu, like, you either win or you learn. I think that's bullshit. And here's why I think it's bullshit is, yeah, okay, you win, great. But the L is not for a learn if 5 tournaments in a row you've been triangled. You didn't learn anything from that. You know what I'm saying? If you take the lesson it gave you and you fix it, then there's learning there. Otherwise, it's a loss. Like, if you lose 5 times the same exact way, there's no growth. There's no learning. So those losses are like, I like to have it like a big dam. I tell them, all right, it's a big dam of water. And right now there's a bunch of holes in there. Each one of those losses kind of shines the spotlight on an area that you need to improve on. And then we can go and we can patch that area and we can fix it, right? All right, well, hey, you suck at the triangle defense. All right, why did I get triangled? Let's figure that out. Let's work on our triangle defense. Let's work on not bringing one arm in, one arm out. Let's work on our posture. Let's work on passing without having an arm in. Things like that are going to make them better. And so if they see it as a growth thing, like, hey, this guy showed me something that I didn't know. And sometimes you lose to people that you just made a mistake or that you're better than them, but hey, it just happened. They had a good day. And then sometimes you lose to people that are absolutely better than you. And I think that's a beneficial loss because it's gonna level that kid up. Like, see that kid, he just beat you, he's at this level. We can beat him, but you're gonna have to train really hard to get back up. And so I think that's sometimes a good motivator for those kids. Like, hey, I have a number on that kid's back now, a target on that kid's back. I'm coming for him, and I'm gonna train hard for him, and I'm gonna see him at nationals, or I'm gonna see him at Pan Ams, or I'm gonna see him at state. And so that loss can sometimes get a fire in their belly, But it can also be the other way where it like really breaks a kid down, And I tell my kids all the time though, like there was a point. It's funny because I got my purple belt, and I had before purple belt I was winning like it was either gold or silver. I didn't even get my first bronze medal until I was a brown belt, and I was winning everything at blue belt, and then at purple belt I lost 6 tournaments in a row in the first match. And I like threw my belt away. I was at Pan Am's. I lost at Pan Am's. It was one of the biggest ass kickings I ever got. It was 27-2, and I got 2 on accident. The ref made a mistake. That guy kicked my ass. Yeah, I should have got the 2 points. But that was the big. I mean, I've been submitted before, but that was the biggest ass kicking I ever got. Like I could do nothing there. And I remember like throwing my belt away, and I was like telling my wife I'm gonna quit. And then like 3 days later, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna go back. And what's funny is the 7th tournament, I went and I won. And then I went on a whole year streak of not losing. I won 57 matches in my division, and I submitted every single opponent. 57 matches, 57 opponents, undefeated a whole year. And leading up to that next year, that's when I won double gold at Pan Am's. And the only time I lost that whole year, for a whole year, like calendar year, like 12 months, was I lost 3 times in the open weight. But in my division, undefeated, and submitted every single person. But had I quit and not had that 7th match, A, I would not be here talking to you. B, I would not be here talking to my student. And C, I would have never had the success I had. So sometimes that loss, you're like super close. And each one of those losses, I'd go back and I'd try to fix what I was lacking or fix the mistakes that I made. And because of those 6 losses, it made me a more complete person at the 7th. And then I was finally ready to be where I needed to go. So sometimes those losses aren't bad things. Sometimes they're necessary. Do they suck? Absolutely. But I think me being able to tell that story to my kids really can like show them like, oh, well, hey, Coach Matt's lost before. And look, he lost 6 times in a row. And on his 7th one, he won. And then he won everything after that. You know what I mean? So like it gives them hope and it shows them like, hey, life doesn't always go perfect how you expect it, you know?
Yeah, that's for sure. Me and my daughter competed together on the same weekend. And
that's awesome.
For her,
that's stressful for you.
Yeah, she lost, and it was funny because where she was at so far in jiu-jitsu, they weren't really teaching submissions at her age. It was more like airplane, getting on top, maintaining position, which she did for most of the match, and the referee reset them. And then the girl put her in a rear naked choke. And my daughter was probably 7. So when that was over, like she cried, she was upset, but she said, I want to learn submissions. And I was like, hey, go for it. And she hasn't quit. She's been going, nonstop for the last couple of years.
That's awesome. And I got to tell you, watching your kids compete is insanely more stressful than you competing.
Yeah.
Like when I coach my students, like I get so nervous for them. Like when I fight, I don't get nervous at all. But by the time I fight, if it's on the same day, I'm exhausted from all the emotional energy spent on screaming at my kids. I have no voice left, and like just the roller coaster of it going that way.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you handle?
But it's an awesome thing to watch.
How do you handle coaching then for competitions? Are you the coach that's yelling your down points, or how do you coach your students, adult and children? Like what is your mindset when you're sitting on the sideline?
I'm yelling at them, and hopefully they're not down on points if they're doing their job correctly. And look, one thing I try to tell them that my professor told me, he's like, look, Matt, listen to me. And if it doesn't work, blame it on me. Simple, right? Like literally, if you do everything I told you to do and it doesn't work, it's my fault. But if you didn't listen and you just wing it and you lose, it's your fault. So it's easier to blame it on me. So I tell my students the same thing. I'm like, look, do what I said. If it doesn't work out, you can blame it on me. The loss, I'll take the loss. I take the L. It's my fault. I'll own up to it. But if you don't listen and you lose, it's your fault. It's much easier to blame me. So please listen, And so, but no, I'm that guy that's covered in sweat, drenched, screaming at them. I have no voice at the end of the day. And, majority of them listen pretty well, and sometimes I'm hammering home the point, you know what I mean? Like, staple the legs. And I'll keep saying it. I tell them here, I will literally not stop saying it until you do it. So please save my voice and just staple the leg or do what I'm saying, So
in contrast, how do you like to be coached during competition?
Oh, that's a good question.
So my coach screams at me just the same. He's a Brazilian guy, and man, he literally, it was one of the benefits that I used to joke with people about. Like back in the day, the guy was kind of like a madman, like he's been married now and like kind of calmed down. He has a little puppy and he's kind of settled down a little bit, you know what I mean? More zen. But he would be screaming on the sidelines. It was one good thing is because I was like, do you see that guy? He's my coach. Like, I'm scared of him. Like, so when I'm fighting this other guy, I'm like, I don't care about this guy. I'm not scared of you. I'm scared of him. See him? He's scaring me and you, screaming at both of us. I need to listen to him and do what I'm supposed to do. So it's actually a benefit, you know? I'm more scared of that guy who's my coach than I am of you screaming at me, so I'm going to do what he says, you know? So, but
That's
no,
funny.
but my professor's very methodical and like, he can tell you like exact instruction on what to do. Or your left elbow here, Matt, or this, whatever it may be. And it's like pinpoint precision what I need. And I think a lot of coaches are the same way, but I also feel like a lot of the students that are competing, they get this thing where they're like, well, he just heard you, so I can't do it right now, you know? And
That's
like,
exactly what John was talking about.
yeah, and I'm like, that's one of the most ridiculous things because when you're fighting, you have this vantage point. But when you're on the outside, not only do you have experience, if you're a black belt, you've been there, done that yourself, you've seen it happen hundreds of times, but you usually have a 360-degree view or a vantage point of the situation. So you're going to know what to do better. And if that student would have just listened to you when the time was right, it's going to work. But oftentimes they're hesitant. Oh, he heard. Okay. Or you hear like, well, if you don't have a coach, just listen to the other guy's coach and do the exact opposite of what they're saying, you know? So
I did find myself doing that. Whatever their coach was yelling, I would immediately fix it.
yeah, they're like, watch the armbar. You're like, oh, I can go for the armbar here. Okay, this is good.
One thing I would hear over everything is the time left. When they'd be like, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
That would come through hard.
And it's another thing, too, when you're competing, especially when you first start, like there's like that fog of war almost, where you're like, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear your voice once, and I'm like, dude, like my vocal cords are shot. You sure you didn't hear anything?
You didn't hear me.
Either you don't like me, you're not listening to me, or you're trying to give me a heart attack, or you literally could not hear me. You know? But it's like anything else. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and then you're able to kind of listen a little more and relax a little more, and things slow down. You know, because it becomes normalcy at that point. But when you first start, everything's heightened. You know what I mean? You're in fight or flight, and you have an adrenaline dump, and you can't hear anything, and you can't grip anything.
One thing that I've noticed since we've been doing jiu-jitsu, especially because we're still junior belts, we're blue belts. I'm a 2-stripe blue belt. I think you're a 2-stripe, right?
No.
1-stripe?
One for years.
Yeah, one for
I'm going to be blue belt for at least 10 years.
That's the
It's
pinnacle
fine.
for him.
I'm fine.
That's the pinnacle, which is great because this podcast is centered around beginners. So if John's always a beginner, we always have content.
Look,
You always
I
have
tell him all the time.
You always have a beginner in the mix. You need to keep.
Yeah, that's right.
My victories are different. I'm like, look, I'm almost 44. Me, like, rolling with 20-year-olds, that's my victory. I'm good.
You're like, I beat up the free trial guy. I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
he
fine.
worked
I'll
out
sleep
that way.
good
He's
tonight.
16 years old, but he had
Yeah,
muscles on him.
I
He had a
got
little bit of
Jared.
mustache.
I beat Jared. Yeah, for sure.
But when we first start, one thing that you always hear about is like, oh, you should compete. Oh, you should compete. Oh, you should compete. And to me, someone that competed in athletics before CrossFit, and I kind of filled my cup with competing. So I don't really have a desire to compete in jiu-jitsu. But I kind of want to do it just to experience it.
Yeah.
Why do you think we push newer practitioners so much to competing? Because I know not every school focuses like I'm sure you don't focus on competing, right? But you definitely might put the bug out there like, hey, you should think about competing. Why do you think we do that so much to especially newer practitioners?
I think it gives them goals. I think just having a tournament written down on a calendar is going to make that student have a visual goal. They're going to, like, you can't hit a target you don't have. So I feel like that's going to help their focus and their training. And, hey, I have a tournament, like you have a tournament in March, you said, right, that he signed you up for that you don't know about or whatnot. Anyways, having that goal, you're going to eat a little bit better. You're going to sleep a little bit better. You're going to drink more water. You're going to stretch. You're going to work out. You're going to try to go to the gym because, hey, I have something I got to do. But if you don't have that on the calendar, sometimes it's just kind of like going through the motions or flowing, and not really getting much better. So I think that's one thing, having that goal. But not only that, I think you learn a lot at competition. You learn a lot about yourself. And it's intimidating just to start jiu-jitsu in general. Like, just the first day of stepping on the mat,
100%.
it's 100% intimidating. But then you go to a tournament, it's even more intimidating. And so I think it grows you as a human being. Like, hey, I just went against another human being that was resisting me that I didn't know, and he doesn't know my game. And I saw where I stack up and where I'm at and my level, And so I'm not big on making it like brand new people compete, But for me, I'm never going to promote somebody to black belt if they haven't competed. I think they should at least have completed once or twice to get the experience. And whether they like it or not, there's some people that are like, man, I just get so anxious. It just ruins my life. I can't eat for months because I know I'm competing. And I get depressed and whatever. Okay, that's fine. It might not be for you. Are there ways to overcome that? Absolutely. Like, your mind is malleable. You're able to change those and override those if you really wanted to, and you did the work. But some people, it's just not for them, and that's okay. But I feel like everyone should at least experience it once or twice, and it's going to give you a good indicator if your jiu-jitsu works or not. Because let's say you're at a school, like some of these McDojos that you see that are like these guys, no-touch martial arts guys that just blast people. It's like, if that's all you're seeing and you never ever have to be confronted with something else, how do you really know what you're doing is worthwhile or working,
I want to come back to the McDojo stuff because you mentioned it a couple of times. But first, I want to kind of go into, you mentioned goals, and I feel like the reason a lot of blue belts quit, coming from us being blue belts, and we've been blue belts for a couple of years now, I feel like a lot of times when blue belts quit or white belts quit, it's because, like you mentioned, they don't have a target, they don't have a goal. They go. The analogy I like to use, I'm in school right now for my bachelor's in business, and one thing they always talk about is organizing a goal for the team to get to, right? And this goes into your personal life also. Yeah. If you don't have a target to hit, if you don't have a roadmap to go somewhere, you're going to go on a road trip, and it's going to be fun to stop see sightsee here and there, but then you're going to get back on the road again, and you're going to be like, well, where am I going? And you're going to start wandering I can't even say
wandering with no destination.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, I'll edit that out. But you're just going to be going with aimlessly. You're just going to be wandering, right? That's what I was trying to say. And then eventually you're just going to go back home. You're just going to give up, right? And having that goal is probably the biggest thing in my eyes to why people will go through blue belt blues, or they feel like they're going through a plateau. What other things do you think that can really help with blue belt blues? Because, man, there was probably about 2 weeks there. You were lighting up blue belts on your Instagram, and I was dying. My favorite one, just real quick, was I want all my blue belts to lower me in the grave. That way they can let me down one more time. That had me dying, bro. I was like, I feel physically attacked right now.
But look, you guys are the exception. You haven't quit. You're still there. You're doing
good. Right.
Bro, look, I just told Travis I went to class, or went to bring my daughter to class the other day. I've been out since the shoulder surgery. I don't even recognize the people in our class anymore. I'm like, who are these people? I'm like, where did everyone go? Yeah. I'm like, what is going on?
Well, that's crazy because, the attrition rate in jiu-jitsu is so high, and so that's one of the things I think about too, is that the blue belt, for a lot of people, I feel like what they quit is that was their mountaintop. That was the false summit, but to tell you the truth, the black belt is a false summit. You know what I mean? Like, in jiu-jitsu, there should be never a point where you're like, all right, I'm done. Like we talked about earlier, it's a book that's still being written. How can you say you've read it? It's still being written. I just saw a move that my professor showed me that he saw on a video he was watching, and no one's ever seen it before. And I was like, fuck, man, like, these kids are making up stuff that people haven't seen. Just in the years I've been doing jiu-jitsu, it's changed drastically and dramatically with different positions and different stuff. So there's an endlessness there. But for a lot of them, that's their mountaintop. It's like, oh man, this was the hardest thing I've done. I had to work 3 years to get my blue belt, and now I'm done, And it's like, all right, well, hey. The thing is, though, what I really truly believe is if they're going to quit, they're going to quit no matter what. So it is what it is. But as an instructor, it does suck because, like, there's so many people that you put a lot of effort. I do, and I believe most coaches do. You put a lot of effort in, like, time into somebody and trying to make them better, and trying to not only make them better in jiu-jitsu, but make them a good human being too, and really just instill everything, all the knowledge, especially for younger kids, what I mean? Like a guy that's 18, like, all right, well, hey, I'm, 36 and I've been 18. I can empathize with you, and I also know what it's like after this, and you can tell them little advice and stuff like that. And the thing is, like, a lot of times you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So a lot of these guys get their blue belt and they're like, all right, well, hey, I'm done. Now I have other things in my life to do. And that was their mountaintop, and that's the way that they celebrate. But to me, jiu-jitsu is like a lifestyle, the belt doesn't matter. Like, literally, the belt literally keeps your gi closed, and you have to do the rest, And so if you started for the belt and you quit for the belt, you were going to quit anyways. You were going to quit at purple belt then. You were going to quit at brown belt, And jiu-jitsu is a meat grinder. Emotionally and physically and mentally, like, it'll beat your ass, And it's hard to keep coming, especially when you first start, like. And I feel like a lot of those guys, they get through those years, and then they're like, all right, well, hey, I survived all this, and now I got my blue belt, and then I'm done, and life takes over, And but
Hit the pinnacle.
It's literally
man.
like 1% of people that, start, maybe a little more now, 1% of people that start. And I try my best to switch things up, to try to have less attrition rate, But that's one thing people don't talk about either. Like as an instructor, like, man, like you lose a student, like, and it's almost like a breakup sometimes, like, especially like, I remember like the first couple students I lost, like I took it really personally, and it wasn't anything like personal reasons why they quit, it was just things that they were quitting on their own. But I had put in so much time and effort, and here I'm thinking like this person's going to be my first black belt someday, and then it's just like that first love, when they break your heart, you're like, there's nobody else, you know what I mean? Like, this thing. And then after that, your heart gets a little more calloused, and you become a little more realist, and it becomes easier and easier. But it still sucks seeing your guys quit, especially guys that have like a lot of talent, or they could have done something, or like maybe they could have used jiu-jitsu just to benefit their life. Like, hey, maybe jiu-jitsu was their outlet to stay off drugs, or maybe there was jiu-jitsu was their outlet to stay out of a gang, or maybe their jiu-jitsu was to stay sane. Like, there's so many benefits that, like, take the whole competition thing out of it. Just jiu-jitsu in itself, there's so many byproducts and benefits of it, especially for men. You know what I mean? Like, it's like therapy almost.
100% agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
I like to think of it as like, as human beings, we're either in the past, we're thinking about what we should have done, or we're in the future thinking about what we need to do. And it's very it's far from often that we are in the present moment. And jiu-jitsu, every time you have a round and you're grappling, it forces you to be in that present moment. You can't think about the job you just lost, or the wife or girlfriend that you just lost, or that your son's in the hospital, or that you don't have any money in the bank when someone's trying to choke you. Literally, you have to face what's in front of you right there. And so because of that 5-minute round gives guys a reprieve from all the other things and the issues in their life. And they're able to maybe compartmentalize that, and they get the good feel-good endorphins from that. And it makes life easier to deal with after that. They got a break from it. Like that, in that 5-minute session, someone's trying to attack you. You can't focus on your problems. It literally forces you to be in the present moment, which takes you out of that anxiety or that anxiousness of thinking about past or future. And so I think a lot of those guys get the benefits from it. But then they go on with life, And I've seen it happen a lot of times too, on a lighter note, where you get a guy that comes in, starts training. Maybe he was out of shape, didn't have very good social skills, and then like within a couple months, like his shoulders are back, he's got a little more posture, a little swagger to his step, right?
Yeah.
Now he's got like a 6-pack, and all right, then he attracts a girl because he's in a good fit shape and he's in a good place in his life. Then the girl does the deadliest arm drag, takes him away. Women take a lot of men away from jiu-jitsu. I'm just saying, men also take women away from jiu-jitsu as well, but women take a lot of men from jiu-jitsu, and then they end up getting fat. They end up being depressed. They end up getting out of shape. They lose that swagger. Shoulders come down. They kind of accept their plot in life. Then the girl leaves them because they don't want to be with a loser. Then the guy comes back. He's out of shape. Has to start the process all over again. I'm like,
vicious cycle, bro. Vicious
and I tell
cycle.
him, like, just be in a relationship with jiu-jitsu. It will break your heart sometimes, and it will break your body, but it will never leave you. It's always there for you no matter what. So I try to tell them that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I get sidetracked too. I have ADHD, so it's like all over the place.
No, bro, I'm right there with you, man. I have ADHD too, and my wife makes fun of me for it. And I'm so glad I'm decent at jiu-jitsu, because it, like, you can attest to this. When you do have ADHD, like, when something grabs your attention, you're like, hold on a second, I gotta like beeline to this.
Yeah.
Like there's no.
Well, I honestly think it's a superpower having the ADHD though. It's like, I've heard the analogy of like having a bunch of different browsers open at once, and that's kind of how my mind is.
Yes.
But because of that, I think I can see a lot more opportunities during the scramble of jiu-jitsu, where some people that are more focused don't see that stuff because they're kind of tunnel vision and they have those blinders on, where my mind's like brrr, doing 50 things at once. So when we're rolling upside down, like, oh, hey, come on, or a toe hold, or a foot lock, loop choke, you know what I mean? There's all this stuff, I just pick and grab it, So I think there's a benefit to it, I hope.
I think it's pretty good too, especially for interviewing people, because I give you my undivided attention. I don't want you to think that I don't, but my mind is just my mind, right? So like in my head, I'm like, bing, 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 like what can I think next? What, like, where can this go next, right? Like, so it's I was interviewed for my buddy, and he told me I have the gift of gab. And I was like, well, I don't think I have the gift of gab. I just think that's my disorder.
Well, look, you made it into a benefit.
Right. Yeah, but you mentioned I wanted to go back to the McDojo thing, because I think especially now with social media and how easily someone can go viral and be in front of so many eyes as as expertise, and we all know the person right now that is
Yeah.
all over social media
Commander
talking
Dale.
about how to, like talking about how to take a gun from someone or whatnot, right? How, as a brand new practitioner, someone that wants to get into it for legitimate reasons, they want the self-defense, they want to better themselves, how do they know if they are walking into a McDojo or not?
Well, I think 10 years ago it would have been more of a problem, but now with the invention of the internet and social media, you have so much things that you can actually research and review. Like, what I tell people that are going to start jiu-jitsu is like, look, there's a couple things you need to think about. One, you need to find a legit school. Two, you need to look at the proximity and the price. If it's not close by, you're probably not going to go when it's raining or when you're tired or when you're not feeling that good. If it is close by, okay, great. And then you want to make sure that it's legit and you can afford the price and the schedule works for you. Those are all criteria that you need to work. But I also tell them, try a couple different gyms. Don't ever sign up for the first one you try. Take a couple free trials at each gym and then figure out which one. Hey, I really mesh well with this instructor. The schedule works for me. It's close by. Okay, I like it. And then you decide from there. So that way you're able to kind of see, because, all right, you have 5 gyms, maybe one's a McDojo, but if you visited all 5, you're like, well, this doesn't seem right, because now I have something to compare it to, right? Because I had the other 4 gyms that I went to. But not only that, like, you have Google, you can read reviews, you can see stuff. Yeah, people can delete comments and delete reviews and stuff like that. But for the most part, you can see, all right, this place looks pretty legit, you know? If you're getting fooled in this day and age, then, I mean, it's kind of on you at that point for not doing it, you know? Like, if you're going to go buy a brand new car, you should do a little bit of research on that car or that brand or that company at least. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, Amazon has reviews. You're going to buy a T-shirt on Amazon or a hat. Like, there's reviews. It doesn't fit the right size or it's bigger than it should be. Like, all right, well, then I go from there. And you can kind of make your purchase accordingly. So I think if you're getting caught at one of those places at this day and age, it's your fault. But I also feel like those people that are selling that snake oil is very dangerous. You know, like, it's one thing to do it as satire, but another thing entirely where I saw a couple years ago, and it infuriated me. I saw it was in one of the women's magazines, and there was this highly touted self-defense expert female that was showing shit that would literally get women killed, and it would do nothing to the attacker. And she has no credibility or any sort of background. It just says self-defense expert. And this magazine was viewed by like a couple 100,000 women. And I'm like, this person pisses me off so much because they're doing such a disservice. They're selling something that's not going to work, and they're potentially having hazards and really bad effects on people that maybe adopt this philosophy. And because of that, I'm like, literally, all the women in my life, I'm like, I want to do a self-defense seminar for you guys for free because I can't have this bullshit out there like that. And unfortunately, there's the guy, Commander Dale, that's showing bullshit like that. It's going to get people killed, you know? And it's, you know, but it's one of those things where what can you do? There's always going to be people like that, you know? And I guess how you get around it is just by putting out a good product yourself, you know, and trusting what you're doing, you know. There's a lot of people like that in jiu-jitsu. There's schools that are like, oh, hey, they're belt factories, you know, and maybe they're on a McDojo in the sense, but they have black belts that have been promoted to black belt that shouldn't be a black belt, you know, and like I have some white belts from my gym go over there and like, you know, destroy their guys, and it's like, all right. And if you're that guy at that gym and you see that happen, like, it's got to be an eye opener for you. Like, I remember one time here in Arizona, there was a guy that came to train with us, and he had been a black belt for like 15 years at this point. And he got tapped out by like 3 16-year-old white belts in a row. And these aren't kids that came to the colored belts. I'm not talking about kids that are 4 or 5-year-olds going through all the kid colored belts. And then, like, these are guys that have been training a year. And he's got demolished. I remember him throwing his belt away in the locker room and sobbing. And I thought, man, how sad. Like, he was like, my jiu-jitsu is a lie. He's like, this last 15 years of my life has been a lie. Because I'm getting beat up by this guy that's been training a couple months, and this is a 15 or 16-year-old kid, and I'm a grown-ass man. And so, like, people don't think about that. Like, there's no lemon law when it comes to that. You know, someone sells you a car, but, like, man, someone sells you something for 15 years, like, they're literally taking advantage of you. It's one thing if you're not paying them, but you're paying them for a service, and they're giving you the exact opposite of that and telling you this is how it's real, and then that has the potential to get get beat up or get killed or raped, whatever. It's just terrible that's going on, you know. And I feel like as martial arts, that stuff should be like shot down right away, you know. And I feel like for the large part back in the day, it was, you know. And unfortunately, you see that a lot with karate. And I feel like jiu-jitsu places are starting to adopt that karate business model to keep people and to keep the doors open and to make money. You know what I mean? To me, I'd rather lose every student I have than do some bullshit like that, than promote people for no reason just to keep them. It doesn't make sense. At the end of the day, I owe jiu-jitsu. I actually did a post a long time ago. It was like, I pledge allegiance to jiu-jitsu, and it was basically talking about like how as an instructor, like, man, it is my job. The jiu-jitsu is one of the things that when you say like, hey, I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt, it means something. When you say you're a karate black belt, it literally means nothing. Your 6-year-old nephew at Thanksgiving is a karate black belt. I remember going to Vegas for a tournament one time. We stopped at a place to eat. There was a karate studio. I'm going to go check this out and just see how the other half lives. And I'm looking inside, and I see these banners. And not only that, I see 40 different black belts on the mat. I mean, I've never seen 40 black belts on the mat in jiu-jitsu in my life, and except at a tournament, you know what I mean? But not in one gym. And they're ranging from ranges like 6 to 13, you know what I mean? And they have kids teaching the classes. And I see these banners, and these banners are big, and it says World Championship or World Champions in Form. And I'm like, there's a fucking World Championships in Form. Literally, all you're doing is a dance, and you're getting a World Championship for this. A kata, yes. And I'm like, man. And these kids leave there thinking they know how to do something. The parents have spent money on this that's not going to work. They're going to get their ass kicked. You know what I mean? And it's like the same with Taekwondo and the same with a lot of these other martial arts that don't work. It's like, how do these people sleep at night, It's infuriating, but unfortunately there's just shitty people out there, and until people really start to wake up and see that, it's unfortunate.
I was going to mention that earlier, but I didn't when we were talking about points. I don't know if you know who Jesse Enkamp is. He's like a karate nerd, but he talks about how karate used to be like jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
It was very physical. They had submissions.
They beat the shit out of each other.
Yep. And then they moved to a point style system. And once they did that, it watered down to karate to what we have now. And I feel like that's almost the way jiu-jitsu is going.
100%. I agree 100%.
Yep.
There was actually something in the Olympics where like one of the guys in Taekwondo knocked out his opponent.
Yeah, and he fucking lost. Isn't that crazy?
It's the right thing you see. This is ridiculous. Like he just showed how effective it could be, but he can't do it because he knocked it out.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they said it was too rough, like too aggressive of a kick. I'm like, are you joking? That is like the dumbest freaking thing. Like, how are you going to get knocked out and be like, gotcha, ass?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
And see, that's what I'm saying. So like, as an instructor, and I feel like most instructors should have that where they want to protect the sanctity of jiu-jitsu. It shouldn't matter. I don't want it to be 10 years from now where everybody has a black belt. You know what I mean? Because then it's just watering down the standards. It's supposed to be hard for a reason. That attrition rate is there for a reason. You know what I mean? Because it's tough. And if it's not tough, then it doesn't mean as much. You know what I mean? And so what? Like, okay, and I feel like as Americans, like we said, we want everything quick and we want to pat ourselves on the back. And, oh, yeah, look, I'm a black belt. Look, you can buy a black belt on Amazon. Like, you can get it tomorrow if you want. You know what I mean? $15. But the ability to wear that and actually have the technique are much different than just putting the belt on,
Totally agree.
And it's just a sad thing that places are like that, And but the good thing is, too, that we have a lot of good guys, and I feel like the elevation of jiu-jitsu in terms of skill is progressing, but then you get guys that are in there for the wrong reasons, just try to make money, and they water the martial art down.
Well, it's pretty easy to have one role and figure out who's legit and who's not.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. It's one of those things where it's like, if you're a liar, like, hey, you're going to get exposed if you actually grapple. But then you have these guys that are like, oh, I don't roll because of this or that. You're like, okay, that's kind of suspect, the fact that you have never rolled with your students, I mean, I've had people contact me with that, like, hey, my instructor never rolls. And I'm like, well, okay, benefit of the doubt. Always devil's advocate here. Like, okay, maybe he's hurt. Maybe he's had knee surgeries. And not only that, some instructors are older, and to be honest, white belts are the most dangerous people there are on the planet. You know what I mean? They do dumb shit. They do white belt shit. White belt's going to do white belt shit no matter what. And so they knee you in the face, or they elbow you, or they reap your knee on accident. Like, I've been hurt by white belts way more than I've been hurt by any other belt on the mat. And so I get there's a danger factor there. But if you've never seen your instructor roll, he's never trained, and he has no like videos of him rolling or training or anything like that, then you got to start to question legitimacy there.
What is your one piece of advice you'd give to brand new white belts? And I would even at this point say maybe blue belts that are on the fence if they're going to quit their journey or not.
To quit their journey or not? I would say don't quit. It's one of those things. It's just that easy. No. But Chris Howder, one of the first American black belts, had a good quote on this, and paraphrasing here, but he said something like, Oh, okay. Now I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We got time.
I'm about the quote unquote that escaped me. But it was basically on the lines of like, it's not who's best, it's who's left. And basically that just means don't quit. Like, I've seen so many talented people throughout the years, and the longer you guys are in the game, you're going to see the same thing. Like, I've trained with thousands of people, and out of those thousands, I remember, like, even from when I first started, I think there's like 5 people out of thousands of people that I've seen that are still training with us, with my instructor. And so it's like people come and go like that. But if you just resolve yourself, like, it doesn't matter who's better, it's just who's left. You'll get a black belt as long as you don't quit. You'll start to master jiu-jitsu as long as you don't quit, But I feel like, again, instant gratification. You want to get it quickly, And I feel like just stick it out. Had I would have quit after that 6th, I would have never had that 7th match and wouldn't be talking to you today. And not only that, jiu-jitsu is like life. You can't quit at life. So when life gets hard, you don't get to quit. I mean, I guess you can, but it's kind of a shitty thing to check out that way and leave everybody else. But jiu-jitsu is one of those things where if you don't quit, you become a little mentally strong because of that, and you get a little more resolved and a little more determined, and you're able to take stuff a little bit better. And it's just such a great way, like, of not quitting. You don't quit on the mats, you're not going to quit in life, It teaches you that, stick-to-itness of staying with something and sticking with something, So my advice for white belts, don't quit, and blue belts, 90% of you are going to quit anyway, so that's off. At least I found 2 that haven't quit. That's solid.
You've already put so much time in. Don't quit.
I honestly think the only reason we haven't quit yet is because of the podcast, and we don't want to be, like those guys that had a.
We don't even trade. No, we quit.
I was like, we have a pretty successful jiu-jitsu podcast. Oh, what color? Oh, I quit a long time ago, bro. I just fucking like talking to people.
I don't trade. I talk about it. No. But I try to tell my white belts, I'm like, look, don't quit. All right, please do it the right way and let me down at blue belt, and then quit. It's too early. You're quitting too early in the game. Let me get emotionally invested, then you quit and devastate. That's how it should be.
Yeah. All I know is the churn is so much now. I don't even bother learning names anymore unless I see them there for a couple months. I'm not even trying to learn their name. I'm over it. Like,
so at my school,
the way it is now.
At my school, being an instructor, I learn everybody's name, obviously. But at my professor's gym, when there's new people that come, I mean, I've seen them come and go all the time. I try not to learn a name until it's like a year in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's Buddy and Pal. And then I'm like,
yeah, dude, I'm right there with you.
What's your name now? You've got a blue belt now with 1 stripe. You've been around for 4 years. What's your name? I'm not going to call you Buddy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But no, it's true, because that guy might not be here in 6 months, And so.
Yeah. I almost feel rude. I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to wait and see if I see him around for a while.
Well, you got to save your words. You only have so many words in life. I can't use them on somebody who's going to quit in a week, Got to see if he sticks around, make it worth it.
It's so true, though, man. It's so true. I when we first started, I think, honestly, there's only... well, we have a really weird story that it's a little late to get into it now, but from the people that first started, there's maybe only 5 of us left that were at the gym when it first started.
Years ago,
right? And it's crazy to think we're coming up on 5 years now, man. That's like,
I can't believe it's 5.
It's crazy.
I need to throw my belt in the trash.
I really just want to get I just really want to get purple belt, so I'd stop doing the warm ups. Like, that's really the only.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Isn't there an age limit on warm ups? Can we stop warm ups if you're 40 and older? I'd be down for that.
Well, how I do my stuff at my warm ups too is I have my guys drill the warm up. I'm like, look, if you guys want to get in shape, go join the fitness gym and run on the treadmill.
Yes,
I'm about to move to freaking Arizona.
You pay me for jiu-jitsu, so we're going to warm up with jiu-jitsu.
That's what I'm screaming.
Yeah. But hey, everybody has their own way of doing something. I'm not trying to knock anybody else on that.
Look, I don't want to plug our YouTube videos to you, but if you have an opportunity, one of our videos right now is jiu-jitsu warm-ups are stupid, and it's blowing up right now.
I agree.
And it's so funny that I thought it was going to be kind of a 50-50 thing of like people are like, oh yeah, you definitely need to warm up and do some push-ups and
like
get the body moving.
Do your
it's
bear
fucking
crawls.
90, 95, 5. Like people are like, I fucking hate warm up. Like they're so like adamant about warm-ups and how stupid they are. And like, so now we start class, and God bless his heart, Cody. If he listens to this, I'm sorry, I love you, man. But he'll be like, all right, guys, let's warm up. I'm like, you don't watch my YouTube videos?
He hasn't got the hint. You've been trying. We have to do 2 more videos on just the warm up. Maybe he'll catch on.
Bro, I'll join the gym if I want to do all these push-ups and jumping jacks.
I mean, so there could be some good there. Like, hey, if the warm-up gets the guy's body warmed, all right, maybe less likely to be injured. But you can warm up your body doing arm bars and kimura and omoplatas and something from the closed guard that's actually pertinent to jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Or warm up by your damn self 10 minutes before class starts.
Turn the heater on in your car, and then you're good to go by the time you get to the gym. Nice and toasty.
And it's from one of our podcasts, it's a podcast clip, and it's Malachi Friedman from Old Low Country or something like that. He's an American top team. Country. He's an American top team black belt. And he talks about, like, he does a warm-up. Like, and that's what I don't understand is, like, people are like, well, if you don't warm up, you're going to get hurt. He's like, no, what he's talking about and what most black belts and class leaders are talking about is, like, I'm not going to run around in circles. We're not going to do push-ups. Like, if we're going to warm up, it's going to be drilling arm bars from the back or from mount or, you know what I mean, like passing the guard or something like that. Something that has application into the class. I think when people think of warm-up, they think of, like, all right, we're going to go ahead and start class now. Let's get straight into technique. It's like, no, there's other ways to warm up besides doing push-ups like insane people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
But, hey, Matt, I want to thank you so much. I think we pretty much covered everything. John, you got any other questions?
Oh, man, you were great.
Yeah, thanks so much. I knew it was going to be a good one from the start of the episode. I was like, oh, man, this would be great.
Wait, I got to ask him real quick.
Oh,
how close is your gym to Scottsdale?
We're about, depending on what part of Scottsdale, but probably like 30, 40 minutes at most.
All right, I'll see you next time I'm down there.
Absolutely, man. Hit me up. Brush that dust off the belt.
That's where me and Katie go vacation.
Are we gonna do this together?
I don't know about you. I mean, I pay for this resort.
You know, the ultimate goal of this podcast is we want to travel 2 people to interview them and drop in at their school and, like, you know, do like a whole video of like hey, we're interviewing them and then we're rolling with them and then interviewing them. Kind of get that camaraderie kind of thing. Yeah. That's the ultimate goal. Rolling. Yeah, or right. So when did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Just panting. I can't hear anything. The mic is crushed.
But COVID made that kind of hard too. Mm-hmm. So also having day jobs.
In our state, we don't know what COVID is. We're okay. I've already had it 3 times, baby. I already got it all. I need to get the shirt. I survived all the variants.
Oh, my God. So, hey, but Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show today, man. If people want to follow you and see your great stabs at blue belts, where can they follow you at?
So if you hate point fighters and you have teammates that quit that are blue belts, or you're a white belt that's wanting to quit, I encourage you not to. Follow my page until blue belt and then quit. Is at Mattzilla BJJ at Instagram. And you can Mattzilla Gillette at Facebook. And the reason behind Mattzilla is people are like, oh, why did you have that name? And it was just so nobody from high school would find me.
I like it.
And then it became something, and then people started calling me Mattzilla, and I'm like, all right, well, fuck it, it works. And then we go from there. But yeah, Mattzilla BJJ at Instagram, and you're welcome to follow me. And if you have some good stuff, I'll follow you back.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much once again. And guys, remember, give us a 5-star review, all that stuff. Follow our YouTube and everything. I'm pretty sure we're going to say that in the intro too. But Johnny, got anything else?
I don't, man. Thank you.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for watching at home, listening at home. And remember, no oil checks here.
That's it. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
You too, buddy. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.